So why are food sensitivities so common in people with autoimmunity and MS? Well, in functional medicine, we actually talk about 3 things you need to get an autoimmune disease, and one of them is leaky gut. It sets you up for an immune system that gets confused and attacks your own tissues. So you get leaky gut, you lose tolerance. The immune system forgets that it's supposed to leave food and our tissues alone, and what you end up with is inflammation, food sensitivities, and autoimmunity. So I hope that gives you an understanding of why this happens and why autoimmunity and food sensitivities are so often found together. So how do food sensitivities start? Let me tell you a story. So you have to have the wrong conditions where you may not have enough stomach acid for a variety of reasons. Maybe you are on medications that suppress stomach acid, or you have autoimmune gastritis, or because of aging, stomach acid is impaired, and that means you're not breaking foods down as you should. These larger, partially digested food molecules continue to move from the stomach into the small intestine. And if you have a leaky gut, they're going to start moving in and then stimulating the immune system. Okay. And now you're producing antibodies against food. So this is how we think food sensitivities start. And there are multiple areas here that we can actually intervene in. Perhaps we can improve stomach acid secretion. Maybe we can close up the leaky gut so that food particles that are larger aren't getting through. And we can also practice lifestyle habits that calm the immune system down so it's not constantly revving up inflammation and antibodies. So how do you know if you have a food sensitivity? I'm not talking about the IgE anaphylactic type. I'm not talking about the food intolerances. I'm talking about the ones that are subtle and slow to onset, so easy to miss. So these are your food sensitivities that involve IgG antibodies. And the symptoms can include anything from gastrointestinal to skin problems, asthma, respiratory sinus issues, migraines, mood, energy problems, fatigue, disruptions in sleep, appetite. So also autoimmunity. Maybe your only symptom of a food sensitivity is that you have an autoimmune disease. Okay. So if none of these pertain to you, I would still recommend that you dig deep because they are hard to find unless you're intentionally looking for them. So let's talk about testing for food sensitivities. There are many different ways you can go about this. Have any of you gone into your dermatologist's office and they go, sure, let's stick this tray of needles on your back. Each needle has something on it that's going to enter your skin. You wait 15-20 minutes and see which of the foods that you tested reacted. So skin testing is one way to go about looking for food sensitivities. How accurate is it? Well, it's really just looking for a reaction in your skin. It's actually not telling us much about what's happening at the level of the gut. So I think there's a limitation there. And I can tell you from my own personal experience and patients that I've seen, the person's symptoms and food sensitivities don't always correlate with what's found. Like, for example, I do react to black pepper, but on that test, it did not show that I had a reactivity to black pepper. So it's not very accurate. There's IgG blood testing. This is something you can actually do to see if you are making antibodies to certain specific foods. So the panel may include, there's many different kinds of panels. I've seen anywhere from 20 foods to 50 to 100 foods. And what the test is looking through a blood sample is looking for IgG blood testing. Coach Roberta, do you want to say anything about this?
Yeah. I think, and like you were saying, it's with those reactions, like taking sometimes up to 3 days to occur. testing really help us, you know, it kind of shines a light of what to pay attention to. Right. And so, and I'm happy to share a test once we're done with this presentation, like a sample, so everyone can see. And yes, and there are so many different tests in the market right now. And there are a lot of variables. The test that we use together is the KBMO, which not only tests for IgG, but also IgG and complements. So, and that complement C1 to 3 to C3, that's where we see a lot of positivity that not always show in other different tests. So I'm happy to share more of that for those who wants to stay and learn more about the test later. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that at the end. So why would you do the blood testing? Because for people that have complex histories, lots of food reactions, they don't know how to prioritize which foods to test, or they're unable to do an elimination diet. I think it's reasonable to do blood testing as a starting point to see what you're dealing with. And I often find that when people find many food sensitivities light up on these tests, that usually means you have a leaky gut. I always say it's not the food's fault. There's just something at the level of your gut that's allowing you to produce antibodies to so many different foods. So IgG testing can be helpful, and we'll talk to you more about that. And then there's the elimination diet, which actually is the gold standard. And that's what we're going to focus on today, on how to do an elimination diet and why it's important. So this is where you remove foods, let things cool off, and then you reintroduce them back in. Okay, so let's see here. How are you going to identify your food sensitivities? So this is going to be something that's going to take some time. You need to find a period of maybe 6 to 10 weeks where you're not traveling, you're not going anywhere, where you kind of have control over your food. What we need you to do is choose the foods you're going to eliminate, and you eliminate them for 3 to 6 weeks. And then you look to see if your symptoms, whatever they might be, improved over those 3 to 6 weeks. And then the second step is the re-challenge. This is where you reintroduce the food to see if your immune system now recognizes it and gives you a reaction. So there's 2 phases. There's the elimination phase, and then there's the re-challenge phase.